Now we come to the moment that we've all been waiting for. We present you the Good Shepherd Asia Pacific International Day of the Girl Child Panel event.
We would like to invite Sister Winifred Doherty. She's the main NGO representative of the Good Shepherd Sisters to the United Nations to lead us into this next session. Sister Winifred is the moderator of this panel event. Over to you, Sister Winifred.
Good evening, good morning to everybody in Asia Pacific. Thank you, Deepti and Deepika and Melissa for being such marvelous moderators of the first session. What an amazing program we've had, and it's not over yet. Weren't Deepti and Deepika and their mother wonderful moderators? Yes. My voice equals our future, the theme of our International Day of the Girls celebration. We have heard many voices this morning, including Deepti and Deepika. Let us give them a virtual round of applause. I am Winifred Doherty, the moderator for this section of the program. I am a sister of Our Lady of Charity of the Good Shepherd and your representative, your voice at the United Nations. To start, I want to wish each of you a very happy International Day of the Girl. Those who are live on Zoom and those who are joining us on YouTube. It is so exciting to me to be with you in Asia Pacific on this day, with live streaming connecting 19 countries, with possibilities according to time zone and language to have a global audience. Congratulations to the winners of the logo and poster competition. What exciting and reflective pieces. Oh my, what talent. The words of the song composed for us today echo in my mind and heart. Girl children are we. We raise our voices. Being feminine is a pride. Empowered with vision for the future. With joy and power, we claim our equal rights. Resilience is our name. We break the silence. Willing and ready. With vision and inspiration, we claim our equal rights. Aren't they amazing words? And as I say, they echo in my mind and heart. And I'm sure as you sing them throughout Asia Pacific, these words will be our theme song and they will inspire us. It was one of my great joys, and Sister Joan mentioned this, to be at the United Nations when the Day of the Girl was first proclaimed in a resolution of the General Assembly in 2011. Today marks the 9th year of celebration. Why have a day dedicated to girls? Well, for many reasons, as portrayed in the winning posters. To stop female infanticide, Aska from India. To end child marriage, violence, harassment, and gender inequality, Alana from India. Fatima from Sri Lanka portrays some sad images of girls whose rights are denied them. But predominantly, the artwork shows the dreams and hopes that girls of all ages have for themselves. The right to play, Chana from the Philippines. To belong, to be wanted, Satak, India. To be consulted, to voice ideas and opinions, Olivia from Indonesia. To be educated, to access technology, Maxime from the Philippines. To be creative, Sylvia from Indonesia. And as the winning logo for the IDG 2020 from Hashra in India, to reach the stars and beyond, participating as astronauts. There is no limit to what a girl can achieve. Yes, Ivana from India says, let's voice out our equal future. The journey of seeking the rights of the girl child began 25 years ago at the 4th World Conference on Women in Beijing. This year, we are celebrating Beijing 25. This conference dedicated a special section to the rights of the girl child. This has been a long and difficult journey. The celebration today is meant to spur us on and to call our different governments to account. 5 years ago, our governments adopted the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. SDG 5 is a goal devoted to gender equality, zero violence, end child early and forced marriage, end female genital mutilation, end human trafficking. And SDG 4 focuses on education, which you and I know is the key to girls reaching their full potential. And yet, some girls cannot go to school because of poverty, because of lack of access to menstrual hygiene products. And sometimes there will not be water or toilets in a school. We have some great girl activists around the world, and Joan mentioned Greta Thunberg, the climate activist, and I want to add one more, Amika George. She's in the UK, and she is a champion and a campaigner in terms of fighting to end period poverty. And she's been doing this since she was 17 years of age. And she started a petition to urge the government in the UK to provide free sanitary products to all school children. And it came about last year for children who could not afford, girls who could not afford sanitary towels, etc., that they were provided free in the school. And this is in Great Britain. And of course, Malala for girls' education. But I want to stress that you this morning, are these girls in your family, your community, and your school. You are girl activists, and we are proud of you. We are here to give you the platform to bring change, because my voice equals our future. And the last point I want to alert you to is, following the SDGs, there is a new campaign called Generation Equality. This campaign, Generation Equality, seeks to continue the implementation of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action with 6 new action coalitions. So you watch out for news of these. The first of these is end gender-based violence. Number 2, economic justice and rights. Number 3, bodily autonomy and sexual and reproductive health and rights. Number 4, feminist action for climate justice. Number 5, technology and innovation for gender equality. And number 6, feminist movements and leadership. Watch out for information about these in your countries, and seek to have your voice inserted in the discussion and to participate in the decision-making to uphold girls' rights and the rights of all girls everywhere. Now I am going to, as it were, change hats, and I'm going to move into my role as moderator. And as the introduction to this, I want to say that it is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you and moderate with what I consider a super panel of 4 girls and youth activists addressing diverse issues: girl advocacy, child early and forced marriage, experiences of an unaccompanied girl refugee, and an educator and advocate for gender equality. We are also honored to have Sister Helen Santana with us, a member of the Missionary Sister Servants of the Holy Spirit and an executive director of Vivat International, a global human rights advocacy organization that works at the United Nations. Towards the end of the session, we will have time for questions. So I ask you to use the chat in your Zoom or Google form to ask your question of the panelists. Alexis Schultz from our office in New York will monitor the chat, collate the questions, and ask them for you. So now I am going to introduce to you our first panelist, Sanjana. Sanjana is a 15-year-old girl from Good Shepherd School in Chennai, India. Sanjana is a girl advocate in her school with an outreach to rural girls. Her eagerness engaging in advocacy was seen on Friday last when she submitted a question at the Girls' Town Hall event hosted at the United Nations. The question read, in countries like mine, India, where digital literacy is quite low and helplines and apps are not possible, how can we give girls a safe space to share their thoughts on our past abuses or to protect their mental health? With that, it is my honor to give the floor to Sanjana. Sanjana, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Sister Winifred, and it is an absolute delight to be a part of this panel. Good morning to everybody in Asia Pacific, and I am so glad to be sharing with you my story of advocacy. When I was 8 years old, I asked my mother why I was born a girl. She told me it was how God wanted me to be, but it did not satisfy my question. As a little girl, I was a little eccentric, very curious, but most of all, yearning for change. Being an avid reader, I had always wanted to be someone else, someone who was strong, someone who was admirable. Growing up, I was taught by my family that there is a division in this world between the privileged and the deprived. Don't waste food, there are people going hungry. Do your homework, there are girls who can't go to school, were all things I frequently heard. But it was when I was 10 that I got to experience that division firsthand. I went on a school outreach program to an orphanage. That was the day I realized that there are girls out there who are waiting for me to be the voice that would change their future. I started my journey by helping girls whose disability held them back. I scribed for autistic children, those suffering from ADHD, college students who were visually impaired, and girls affected by HIV. I learned how girls can be excluded and shunned from receiving their basic human rights. I joined a social service organization called Sampurna and learned about advocacy and how to do it effectively. When I was 12 years old, I asked my teachers, why I was born a girl, and they told me about chromosomes and sex determination, but I still was not satisfied. When I was 13 years old, I had the opportunity to go on a trip with a few other students to Mulakalapalli, a small tribal village in the south of India, where we conducted camps for children. That day, we walked about 5 kilometers from the convent where we were staying to the village, and all of our students were panting and gasping. I was shocked to realize that these women and girls had to walk such a distance just to access water. That day, when a young village girl held my hand and called me Akka, which means elder sister, I knew that engaging with those girls was what I was meant to do, what I was here in this world for. When I was 14 years old, I asked my friends why we were born girls. They laughed at me and dismissed my question. Last year, on the International Day of the Girl, I traveled to Salem, a small village in the south of India, with 4 other girls where we conducted a program. The girls in this village were prone to teenage pregnancies and early marriage. We spent 2 days in the village. The first day we conducted the program, and the second day was informal, where we met with the girls and explored with them why early marriage happens in their community. At the end of the program, most of the girls were convinced of the need for education and also wanted to educate their villagers. The pandemic, as for everyone, came as an utter shock, but it was also a catalyst to a new initiative, the beginning of an online forum for girls our age to speak out on things that matter to them. We spoke about bullying, including cyberbullying, mental health, violence, racism, casteism, and other sensitive topics like the LGBTQIA community. Today, this forum has grown from our school to other schools and also beyond borders to Pakistan and Nepal. But why stop with that? I was also a part of a group of students who were actively involved in educating young girls about the menstrual cycle. We had virtual sessions where we educated young girls on the myths surrounding periods, the changes that occur, how to battle them, and also about talking to men about menstruation, thus truly putting a period to the period taboo. My parents were right. There is a division in this world. But instead of sitting and fretting about that division, I have learned to include the excluded. I am 15 years old now, and I ask myself, why do you think you were born a girl? And I answered myself saying, I am a girl because I am strong. I am compassionate. I have a voice, and with other girls, we can surely bring about change. I know now how reaching out to others also makes you reach within. My dream for every girl is for her to ask herself the same question I asked myself. For her to know the power that she has within, to know that she is truly capable of change. And so I ask, if not you and I, then who? If not now, then when? Your voice and my voice is our equal future. And happy International Day of the Girl to each and every one of you.
Winifred, please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Sanjana, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation that you've made. And as you shared, I was saying here in our midst is our own end period poverty campaigner. You are here in person. Thank you again for sharing. You include many dimensions and issues in your sharing, But the phrase also that I would like to pick up, and maybe we can explore it later, is, I know how reaching out to others also makes you reach within. So thank you again, Sanjana, and we'll be talking to you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Winifred, for having me.
So now we are going to move to our second panelist, who is Merrylove Glory Albert from Sabah, Malaysia. I'm waiting for her to come on screen. Welcome, Merrylove. We are delighted to have you here. As I said, Merrylove is from Sabah, Malaysia. Merrylove had her 18th birthday in January of this year. She is a youth volunteer in Good Shepherd Services Sabah and appointed as a member of the National Malaysia Children's Representative Council in 2019. She has organized and conducted school-based programs entitled Don't Take My Rights Away. And she was a resource person for Suhakam, Human Rights Commission for Malaysia, in an online consultation session on challenges affecting children in Sabah. Merrylove is an advocate, an ardent advocate, I would say, on ending child marriage. Welcome, Merrylove, and don't forget to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Fred. Thank you. A very good morning to all the people who are watching this right now. My name is Merrylove Glory Albert, and today I am here to represent all the people who have been fighting to put a stop on child marriage. I will start by telling you stories from the place where I came from. Stories that you and I should be talking about right now, because it shouldn't have happened. In 2013, a 40-year-old man raped a 13-year-old girl in the park, married her, and had the audacity to say, "Many men are marrying underage girls. I don't see why my case is any different." Men who raped young girls and offered the girls' parents money in exchange for permission to marry their daughters. We are angry, scared, disappointed, and sickened. Most of these men claim they are marrying them to save the girl from poverty. But if that was true, did they have to marry these children? Why not adopt them or fund their education? Unless they want to sexually exploit these little girls because they are young, they are pure and innocent, easily tamed, and weirdly enough, men, especially predators, are attracted to that. Do these people know what is the definition of children? Children are those who are below 18 of age. And even if they know, do you think they had cared? Well, obviously, through their actions, they did not. When I was 14, I heard cases of girls in my age dropping out of school because of pregnancy, when they are 16, opting for abortions and becoming mothers and fathers. Some moved out to different schools in different districts, consequences of being shamed. And I have my own story too. It was very heavy. I had to think a lot of time we should share this story in this platform because it's very near to me and I never really opened up to it. But when I was visiting my cousin when I was a child, her mother asked me, "Do you have a boyfriend?" Of course, in a joking manner. And of course, I thought she was being silly and I said, "No." To my, she then replied in Kadazan Dusun, "Numiagal indong magot no gipatahakon te idit anak ko, kumawin ko no nakagayo ko." Which leads to, "Then we should offer you to my son. You two should marry in the future." And since then, a frequent visit to their house was expected of me, keeps on encouraging me to interact with her son, and I was only 11 at the time. Her son was 17. Years after that, I confronted my aunt about it, and she said, "I was only joking and teasing you back then." But reflect on this together with me. If it really was just a harmless joke, then first, why did I not find it funny? Second, why did it cause an 11 years old to feel really bad and question her worth as a girl? Poverty and lack of education has always been the main narrative of why child marriage happens. But in my environment, in my community, children are married off as a way to cover the shame of pregnancy out of wedlock. They believe marrying is the only way out. There are parents who say, "This man raped my daughter and got her pregnant. But hey, we married him off to our daughter. Don't call him a rapist anymore. He is now her husband. Plus, she now has someone who can financially provide for her. My daughter was not raped. She consented to it." People are very sensitive to the word rapist. It's very humiliating and it's disgusting. And yet, girls continue to be married off by their parents to their own rapists themselves. And sadly, here in Malaysia, this is the face-saving culture. Children are married off because it is a custom, a part of a culture. Older people keep on emphasizing that marrying young was a normal practice for them back then, and that they still turn out well. But is that really true? Did they really turn out well? Are they actually with the person they are right now, with their partners, with their family, with the quality of their education and life? I don't really think so. In some highly debated cases, children are married because religions give them green lights. And when action is backed up, people stop speaking up. Statements made by religious leaders and politicians in support of child marriage risk legitimating the practice. Ending child marriage is a battle against tradition and, most importantly, mindset. Our law has failed us by allowing children to be married at the age of 16 or even younger. The Sharia court and the native court gives easy access to marriage as a way out for rapists to escape penance, thus normalizing child rights. Obviously, child marriage offers no advantage. Children are abused or robbed of their childhood. One of these children could have held the cure of cancer, but that possibility is diminished, or that possibility is now gone, because instead of studying, she was forced to bear children. My question for the law and policy makers has always been the same. On matters of humanity, why do we require too much process and too much time to ban something that clearly does not benefit anyone except these predators? Something is clearly wrong here. Children should be children, learning, playing, experiencing new stuff, playing cook, not cooking in a real kitchen, feeding a family, not being in a mental prison that hinders their development. I do not edit for the mere purpose that it makes me feel happy. Most of the time, it actually overwhelms me. When I learn of new cases, I hear girls younger than me really having relationships with men way too old for them. When I hear adults make sexual jokes or flirt with young girls, I hear about my own male friends creating WhatsApp groups to talk and target teenage girls for sex and expose them. How ignorant and clueless my community is, I actually feel really miserable, and oftentimes I lose hope in society. Still here. And until I don't hear a complete ban towards child marriage from the Malaysian government, I am not stopping. I advocate because I want to help those who are in the position who cannot help themselves. I can be the voice for the voiceless, be the hands that lift up abandoned, and fight for the rights of those who are exploited. I have been volunteering and associating myself with NGOs to make sure I never run out of opportunities to participate, to advocate in persuading policy and lawmakers, and at the same time, spreading more awareness among youths, among my friends in my community. I finally devoted myself in advocacy when I was given a chance to be the girl child and speaker at the launch of the 2018 Orange the World campaign. When I was 17 years old, I was appointed as the member of the Little Children Representative Council, a children-led organization that had allowed me to organize and conduct my own school-based program called Jangan Sentuh, which means don't touch my rights. I had set a goal to finish conducting my program throughout all the schools in my district, but then the COVID-19 hit, and right now, I've been deepening my knowledge and skills on advocacy. In the same time, establishing networks with organizations or people deep interest on human rights. I had the chance to do this thanks with the help of Project ID Malaysia, which I am also a part of their student outreach team. Project ID Malaysia. They're the greatest advocates, education enthusiasts, and role models I have been blessed by the Lord with. It's very hard to acquire accurate statistics on cases of child marriage here in Malaysia. But in 2010, a United Nations report showed that over 82,000 married women in Malaysia were girls between the ages of 15 and 19. The true scale of child marriage in Malaysia may, however, be even higher, as many couples who take part in religious or customary weddings do not register their unions. But we should not wait for a time where statistics are high for us to finally act. One child bride is way too many child bride. Educate our society, save our children, and end child marriage. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Merrylove, for your very energetic presentation. And you noted that ending child marriage is a battle against tradition, religion, and more importantly, mindset. Thank you for sharing with us and also for your practical insights into how advocacy is done. And I'd also like to stress that in your presentation, you highlighted, and I want to highlight it again, you highlighted that child sexual assault and rape takes place with impunity, meaning men are not called to account for their actions. So thank you for highlighting this, and thank you for calling out governments to actually take note of this. So thank you again. Now we are going to be joined by Sister Helen Santana, who is going to be our respondent, and she will talk and respond to Merrylove and Santana. I'm just waiting for her to come on screen. Sister Helen, you are very welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening. You are indeed our esteemed respondent. And as I said earlier, you are the co-director of VIVAT International and a representative at the United Nations. Helen lives in New York. Helen holds a postgraduate degree in social work from Tata Institute of Social Sciences and law from ILS Law College in India with marginalized communities and Dalits on land rights. Helen is a longtime advocate on behalf of girls and women. She was the director of Srivani Voices for Women for many years. She was a project coordinator with Caritas India, where she developed gender policy for the organization. And before that, she was the executive secretary of the Catholic Bishops' Conference in India, focusing on leadership building and working on sexual abuse policy for the church. Sister Helen, you are very welcome, and we look forward to you responding to Sanjana and Merrylove in terms of the topics that they have presented and their style of advocacy. I have to say it's super. Over to you, and turn your microphone. You have it on. Thank you.
Yeah, I have it on. What can I say after listening to these two powerful women of the future? It's wonderful. I was wonderstruck by the entire program, and I'm honored to be here. Dear, I mean, maybe it is to address every girl who is on the call here, and I'm to respond to both of you, Sanjana and Merrylove. And your sharing took me back to my childhood and so many other instances that contributed to what I am. You showed in a way mirror to me through your sharing. Thank you. Thank you for that. And you, Sanjana, your question, why are we born girls? Your voice and my voice is our equal future, is something that you can go on and on, being, carrying that torch ahead, and you can show the world about you. And every girl here can show, because that is the power that is within. You brought it very clearly. And it doesn't mean that, there is darkness, but you are lighting a candle. And then you highlighted as this very clearly, my dream for every girl is to know the power that is within. And I call upon every girl to repeating your words, to recognize that power, because no darkness can take that power away from us. And the entire question that you are asking, why am I? Why are we born girls? Also is a call for me, for all of us who have grown in age, yet why are we born girls? There is a girl, a lovely girl that is hidden in each of us. Sometimes we have buried over the age. And that, I think, is the call for all of us, not only for women here, even for the men who are here, because the child is there, which is very tender, very powerful, having full potential. And I think that is the gift of God you are speaking about, Sanjana. And you, Merrylove, very powerfully you spoke, and your determination that you showed through your sharing to bring complete ban on child marriage. In both your sharings, what has been there is, okay, early marriage is caused by several aspects, but culture is at the root, coupled with social and economic problems that are there. And that is what Good Shepherd Sisters are working with. I have known their work in Bangalore as well. Even we ourselves have placed the girls when I was working in Bangalore who became pregnant due to rape, due to any mistrust that they had. And that empowerment that they have brought about throughout the world is something you are highlighting by being in their fold, which I think is wonderful. Merrylove's, you said, I am not going to keep quiet until government acts on ban on child marriage. And you brought out certain statistics just to highlight also UNICEF. UNICEF really is looking for averting 500,000 child marriages in the region of Asia Pacific by 2021. And we know that South Asia, Sanjana comes from India, you have others also, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. In South Asia, we have the highest child marriage in the world. Almost 45% of all women are between 20 to 24 years of age, married before the 18. And what is it? Early child marriage, early children are born. I can bring you one story from my own work experience in Pune when I was working. This woman becomes mother of two, married because of arranged marriage, becomes within no time she has two children, then the harassment, not only from the husband, but from the mother-in-law, father-in-law. So much so, because to escape that violence, she gets into the field. She was just 21 by then. The sugarcane field, hides whole night, comes then to the mother, and then comes to our organization, and it continues. And she discovers herself that having a husband just to be sexually abused is of no use. I am free, at least now, without the husband. That is the freedom she was sharing about. And she searched that freedom, found out that who she is, and finally had her voice. Eventually, she reunited with her husband after 3 years, but on her own terms. Either you live with dignity or you just say no to violence. And that is what I think your presentation is very clearly bringing to us. And maybe in the UN is looking at it through the Convention of the Right to Child, as well as UNICEF is focusing, UN Women is focusing through the girl child. Some of the things that, that you could really talk, that you have talked about, you can take it forward, is building those networks. It is, Merrylove brought it very clearly, bringing, okay, from one to the other, among you girls, among the local self-governments, among at the district level, at the state level, at the country level, and as you are doing, to share it at the regional and here at the UN level too. So I think building your groups from every, different tiers and bringing your voices together is something that you could take forward from here. This is such a wonderful opportunity that you had, especially on the issue of early marriage, being forced to marry the rapist. And how do you do it? In the Sanjana spirit, you recognize you are a gift. You have that potential, and to carry forward that voice. So I think with that, I stop here. Maybe during the question answers, I can bring the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen. I don't know, Sanjana or Merrylove, if you want to say any word to Helen. Not at this stage. Helen, thank you very much again. And you will be back with us because we will have 2 more panelists. But before we have the 2 more panelists, we're going to have the video which was made for today, for today's celebration and for the event. And I wanted to have this video shown at this moment because I wanted to have the voices of the girls in all of the countries that contributed to the video. I wanted to have your voices as part of this panel experience. I want to bring your voices and your messages as if you were participating on the panel, because your voice and your message is the future. We will now share the screen showing Good Shepherd Asia Pacific on the International Day of the Girl. Thank you.
The rights of children have been deprived from them, especially when it comes to girls. The right to freedom and independence have been withdrawn from them due to social norms.
जस्तै महिला भएकै कारण बलात्कार, दुर्व्यवहार, विघन, भेदभाव हुने हिंसाहरू
It's not only my story that I'm speaking. This is the voice of thousands of girls like me.
मलाई संसारमा के प्राप्त गर्नु सक्नु समस्याहरूको समाधान गर्ने शासनतत्व यदि मेरो जीवनमा कुनै प्रकारको बाधा अवरोध र दबाव नआएको भए म आफ्नो शिक्षालाई निरन्तरता दिएर समाज परिवर्तनको लागि I will use my voice to educate family on equal rights. I raise my voice against gender discrimination in the family and the society where I live. I want to study well and realize my dreams for the future. My hope is to become a doctor. My hopes are to get educated and work for girls' rights and education. Engineer ที่ชนะบอก တန်ဖိုးဖို့တွေလည်းရမယ်တန်းတူခွင့်ရေးလည်းရမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အရင်မူကြီးဖြစ်ချင်တာပေါ့ Girl rights are human rights, yet millions of girls struggle to claim their rights. The percentage of girls who stand up for themselves is very less, and to stand up for themselves, they need a voice. By being the voice of the other girls against gender discrimination, child marriage, sexual abuse, deprivation of education, and trafficking. Bilang parte ng kabataan, magagamit ko ang aking boses sa pamamagitan ng pagsulat ng tula or spoken poetry na nilalaman kung ano na nangyayari sa mga kabataan at kung paano sila alagaan ng ayos. Bigyang tuon at solusyon na matulungan ang pamilya na nakakaranas ng kagipitan sa buhay. Lalo na ang mga walang kakayahang mapag-aral ang kanilang mga anak.
I would like to spread positivity and tell them that stop hate, stop the toxic people, and I want them to spread love, not hate.
Kepada semua kanak-kanak perempuan di dunia, teruskan berusaha kerana pendidikan sangat penting dan semua berhak mendapat pendidikan. To have a dignified life, we need to raise our voice for the better future. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Girls can be powerful agents of change. We will join together and win the world together. My voice equals our future. My voice, our future. My voice. My voice equals
our future.
my voice, our future. My voice, our future. My voice, our future. Our future. My voice, our future. My voice, our future. My voice, my voice, our future.
Wasn't that exciting? I'm going to give a big clap to all who participated in that video. We are the future of the world. I heard those words very clearly. We are the future of the world. And also I heard girls' rights are human rights. And that really came from Beijing 25 years ago, when Hillary Clinton was a woman in Beijing at the conference, and she said women's rights are human rights. But now we have girls' rights are human rights. And you have said it yourselves, we are powerful agents of change. How exciting. Thank you to all the people behind the scenes who made this a reality, especially the girls, technicians, videographers, teachers, mentors, administrators. There were over 40 video clips submitted from around Asia, using only cell phones. So simple technology. And these were sifted through and collated by Kiera and her team in the Philippines. Again, applause to everybody. Marvelous. Now we're going to move into the second panel presentations. Don't forget to use the chat on Zoom or the Google form to ask your question of the panelists. Alexis is monitoring the chat and collecting the questions, and she will ask them for you. So make sure you have heard from two presenters. So now you should be beginning to form your questions and ask them. So don't be afraid to put them in the Zoom chat. Thank you. Now I have the pleasure of inviting our third panelist, May Tue, to come on screen. Good evening, May. It's evening in America. It might be morning in Asia, but it's evening in America. May is 20 years old. She has completed her high school and is starting college. May is going to talk to us about her experience of being a girl child, unaccompanied refugee. It is a great privilege for us to have May with us this morning. Girl child refugee or girl child migrant has not surfaced in any of the material that I have seen. May, you are very welcome and the floor is yours. Please unmute your microphone.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. I would like to share my story with you. My name is May Tue. I'm from Burma, now it's called Myanmar. My story as a refugee began when I was 9 years old. One day, my aunt came from Yangon to my family house in Mandalay. I was on school break between 2nd grade and 3rd grade. She asked my mom if she could take me to Yangon for the school break. As my school was about to start, my mom did not agree. I had never been to Yangon, so I begged my mom to let me go. And my aunt promised that she could bring me back on time. My aunt and I left my home. We stopped at my cousin's house, and my aunt took him as well. The three of us took a bus to Yangon. After 2 or 3 days, my aunt handed me and my cousin to a stranger. They were a young husband and wife. They had a baby, and there was also 2 teenage boys who were not related to them. The couple brought their teenage boys and my cousin and me to Malaysia. I don't remember how we got there or how long it took. I remember that we got to their wife-mom house late at night. At this moment, my life changed. I became a child labor. The wife's mom made me work for her. The first night, I woke up to a noise. I opened my eyes and I saw 6 or 7 kids holding money and books. I even saw some kids were being beaten by the lady. They were crying. I thought that maybe they had done something wrong. That's why their mom was beating them. I wasn't able to go back to sleep because I missed my family and the kids were crying. In the morning, the lady came over to me and the other kids. She gave each of us books to sell and said that the older kids would show us. I was so confused and scared. So I took the books and I went with her older daughter. She taught me some Malay so I could sell the books. If I forgot the phrase, she could pinch my ears or stomach. If I came back and I have not enough big money, I was being beaten with a rope. This happened almost every day. When you hear this, I'm sure that you can pinpoint that many abuses and human rights violations that can happen to a girl child. For example, not allowing to go to school, bullying, daily physical punishment, and being forced to work. One day, when I came back, my aunt and her daughter were sitting in the house. I was so happy. I thought that she was there to protect me, but I was wrong. My aunt told me that she came to Malaysia because it was unsafe for her to live in Yangon, as my mom had called the police. I was so sad, but what hurt the most is that she watched when I was being beaten in front of her. The police came, the neighbor has called them. Because they heard the kids were crying every night, the police took all of us, the adults and the kids. The adults went to jail, the kids were put into shelter and handed on to UNHCR. UNHCR asked if we have family in Malaysia. This was very confusing. Some of the kids in the shelter were family with the adults who had gone to jail. Some of the kids, like me, were not family. The adults told us non-family members were to say we were family. Luckily, UNHCR knew that we were not a part of the family, and they took us to a new shelter. From there, we were moved to different shelters. UNHCR asked lots of questions, but I was stay very scared and confused. Finally, I got to Ruth Virginia Good Shepherd shelter. I was given a counselor. I met a lot of people who really loved me and cared about me. Slowly, I started being able to trust them and listen to them. Trusting people was really hard for me, but as I grew in trust, I was able to share my story with them and listen to them and tell them that I came from Mandalay. UNHCR looked for my family. A month later, they came back and they say they were not able to find them. Then they gave me two options. First, I could stay in the shelter, continue to do school, homeschooling. UNHCR could continue to look for my family, but with no guarantee that they could find my family. Second, I could go to overseas. I could have a foster family who support me, and I could go to school and get an education. I decided to get on a plane and I go to a new country. I arrived in Seattle, Washington in October 2015. 5 years later, I have graduated high school, started college, and I have lots of dreams for the future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, May, for sharing your story with us. And what a story of resilience. A 9-year-old girl arriving in a strange country in Malaysia and ending up in the USA. What an achievement to have completed high school and to start college. Thank you again for sharing this with us, because often we don't actually hear what happens as an unaccompanied girl moves across borders, and in your case, across continents, to a country where you don't know the language, to another country where you don't know the language, and your English is so perfect. So thank you very much for being with us, and we will have you back later when we invite Helen to share again. Thank you very much, May. And now we will move to our fourth panelist, Jillian Fernandez. Jillian, welcome. Jillian is an educator in St. Bridget's School in Quezon City, Philippines. Jillian is a youth advocate for gender equality. And yesterday I learned that October 11 is National Day in the Philippines for honoring the LGBTQ community. Jillian, we are honored to have you with us, and the floor is yours. Please unmute your microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. Greetings of peace to everyone. My name is Jill Fernandez, a proud graduate of St. Bridget's School, Quezon City, a Good Shepherd school in the Philippines. I am now a researcher and an educator in my alma mater. What I'm offering you today is a story, one that is unique to me, but relatable to girls with a similar experience. I am representing the LGBTQ plus voice today. LGBTQ plus or lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and that wide range spectrum. It is groundbreaking to speak to you today about these experiences in light of girls' rights. Often, these experiences are not spoken about and not accepted, while sometimes tolerated. We have been socialized and formed to think in binary terms about sex, gender, and sexuality. This is a way of thinking which sets up opposites or extremes, black or white, right or wrong. There are no shades in between, no gray areas. It is the same when we think of male or female, boy or girl. And further, gender was understood in this way. There are prescribed roles for girls and boys. In kindergarten, I was unaware of these things. While I already felt attraction to girls, I was more curious why my uniforms are dresses and boy classmates use polos and shorts. Adults give me dolls and skirts, and these are fine. But I always wondered why my boy cousins had different sets of things. And when I started studying in St. Bridget's School, I learned more. Before, there was only that binary way of understanding gender, either one or the other. A girl or a boy with associated ways of dressing, toys, and behaviors. It was not recognized as fluid, unlike today. And this was conflictual for me, as I found myself wanting to have relationships with girls. And as a student leader, people would remind me constantly that I should be a model of values. And showing LGBTQ plus behaviors would be bad. Girls should be prim and proper, but I was rugged. Girls and boys are told what they should wear, how they should behave and act. Girls should be seen, not heard. And boys should not cry. In hindsight, I was struggling because there is only a part of me that I can show to the world. I did not feel free to develop significant relationships with the persons I was attracted to. I always held back. I thought that I will suffer condemnation, not only by my family, my peers, but also my God. My turning point only happened when I was in college. I learned and understood more. I was able to express freely to my peers, but still I denied who I was at home. I was a senior in my organization when my organization led an event called Living Your Truth, Stories of Diversity, where people shared their coming out stories. After, I had a quick chat with my professor, and I mentioned that I have yet to come out to my parents. And it was ironic. It was through this that I realized that my parents should know who I am. And they did, just before graduation. Coming out is a process that affects the person themselves and their family. I know that I am loved, but it took a couple of years of struggles, of failed relationships, of arguments, of tears, just for this to be acknowledged and for my family to feel comfortable. But now, my family allows me to be who I am. But most importantly, I allowed myself to be who I am. And I always refer to this experience in the work that I do, because I recognize my privilege to help open opportunities to girls. As a researcher, I advocate for gender equality, LGBT rights, and gender empowerment. But there was this particular occasion when I spoke to an organization in the province. A participant stated that people who identify as LGBTQ+ are abnormal and asked me to comment. This is a viewpoint that is often expressed, and most of you may be thinking it too. It is difficult to get people to realize that gender identity is fluid and along a continuum. We are socialized to think in either or terms, and these are learned from traditions in our families and held strongly by both religion and society. So persons who experience something else are shunned, discriminated, killed, labeled as abnormal and sick, and often excluded. This is a historical injustice. This is a violation of human rights, and such attitudes and behaviors rob the LGBTQI person of their dignity. Now, I am back in my alma mater as an educator. From my previous experience as a student, I am happy to see progress in terms of acceptance and love. Yet much remains to be done. In Good Shepherd, we educate young girls and boys, but we should also provide safe spaces for them to grow and develop, not only academically, but emotionally, with their gender identity being accepted for who they are. Our patron saint, Saint Mary Euphrasia, said, "A person is of more value than a whole world." Our very title connotes that God is a good shepherd who came that we might have life and have it to the full. At the heart of this is the recognition of the dignity of every person, especially those who experience themselves as different. And as part of the LGBTQ+ community, this is my realization. And I want all girls around the world to know this. But going beyond the Catholic faith, I hope we all understand how crucial our position of power and privilege. This is a reminder for us to affect all institutions, homes, schools, governments, all important areas of influence. When we are able to fight these injustices rooted in our systems, and if we stop limiting girls within the lines, such as sex, gender, class, race, among others, that are drawn by society, only then can girls realize their voices, their rights, and their equal future. Thank you.
Winifred, please unmute your mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian, for this very informative sharing with regard to LGBTQ experiences and the highlighting the approaches that we need today to ensure that every girl, and indeed every boy, no matter what his or her experience of herself or himself is included and respected and afforded their dignity. So thank you very much for breaking the silence, for sharing with us, and for engaging in the conversation. We're going to invite back May and Helen in terms of Helen doing some feedback and responding to May and Helen. So Helen, you need no introduction at this time. So the floor is yours, and please unmute yourself. And maybe if we can keep it to 5 minutes, because I think we might be running just a little over time. So if it's possible, if not, don't worry. We want to make sure that there's time for the questions.
Yeah, thank you, Winifred. And hello, Jill Fernandez. Thank you for that sharing, and thank you, May. So let me, your stories, both of your stories, May and Jill, were heartrending. You have come from that struggle of identity, of finding yourself from nowhere, which I think is the beginning. That pain is the beginning of knowing who we are and the power within that we talk about, and having that voice, for dignity. You have brought it very clearly, and you have put yourself out there for us to know what struggle is. From May, your struggle, from that struggle, you made a choice. And here on the call, we have many girls who are trying to dream and make a choice. And it becomes all the more meaningful and precious and valuable when the call is from nowhere. And, the entire issue of refugee and taking someone from the parents, be it aunt, be it another known person, we can also call it a kind of trafficking, human trafficking, which is the third most, the crime nexus that exists in our world today. And 20% of all trafficking victims are children. And a recent report of United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime tells us that 79% of these trafficked women, girls, and others are used for sexual exploitation, and over 30% for forced labor. And you may brought that dimension to us. You were taken away forcefully for exploitation without your knowing. You dreamt a better dream. And we have millions of girls like that dreaming today. And you are showing them the way. And I call upon every girl who is here to take this call, wherever you are. Maybe your struggles may not be so big according to others, but you are coming out of that struggle. That dimension of choosing for a better life, finding yourself, that identity is something, May, that you have done. And I think that is a call for everyone. And we have laws. United Nations has laws, which are even country, like my country, I come from India. In India, we have laws. But the problem again is it is the culture. It is the economic situation, that we need to address. And also the girls having a potential that is there, the ability to say no, yes, that has to come from the beginning. Besides the economic condition, girls need to learn to say no, yes, in the way they are supposed to say, which most of the time our socialization doesn't teach us. So need to question is something that we learned from you, Jill, today. And this questioning comes from your own struggles of finding your identity. And we are all created in human dignity is precious to all of us, no matter where we are, who we are, how rich we are, how poor we are, and you brought it across the gender binary that is there, the fluidity that you brought about. We have to find that dignity, and that search, that struggle for search which you have today, you have it, and you are promoting that human dignity in your own way as an educator, as a researcher. So, just coming to what Pope Francis has acknowledged recently. Winifred talked to me also about that. On the 16th, he met the parents of the parents of the children who are from the LGBTQ community, and he addressed them and he said to them, God loves your children as they are. So God loves everyone, and who are we to judge anyone? That is the tone he had, which is also earlier in 2014, 2015, Pope Francis has continuously told us never to discriminate based on the sexual orientation. And we are no one, when God has given us that dignity, who is the human being to take it away? That is something that you have brought very openly, courageously to us in life. Now, coming to UN protocols and national laws, so it is very important as educators, as students, as girls, what are our laws saying, and where can we find some kind of access to build our networks around the legislations is something our schools can take it up. Our schools, while we are having this talent show, even legal knowledge becomes imperative for us to build our self-confidence. Maybe that is something that we could take forward, according to me. Thank you. More when questions come. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, both of you. God loves you, so do we.
Thank you very much, Helen. You are superb, and thank you for your deep sharing and your very sensitive responses. And also, you're urging us to be interested in terms of what the government is doing in terms of legislation and to be interested in law. So thank you again. Now we're going to bring on Santana and Merrylove and Alexis, and we will have some time for questions and answers. The new person that you will see on the screen is Alexis Schultz, who represents you at the United Nations from the Good Shepherd International Justice Peace Office. Alexis has been moderating the chat and compiling the questions. So the floor is yours, Alexis, to direct the questions to the various panelists and Helen and myself as appropriate. And I would say we have about 15 minutes for questions. Thank you and welcome. Please unmute yourself, yes.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's been such a joy to be a part of this panel and to be moderating all of the wonderful questions that we've been getting. We've gotten so many, so I've combined a lot of them and brought together many that have similar themes. So we're going to start. We'll kick off with Sanjana. So we have the first question for you is, why do our societies see girls as less than, and why are they forced to take on the care work of their homes?
Well, I would say, firstly, I would say it's because of the cultural and traditional mindsets of people. And I would also like to stress that maybe it is because we do a better job at it. And yes, so that's just how we've been brought up. And I wouldn't say it's really a burden on women and girls. As long as we are not forced to, and as long as men and boys know that we have to share in that responsibility of domestic care work, because it is not just my home, it is our homes. So as long as both genders share that responsibility and do it, I wouldn't say it's a burden on women. But also I would like to stress that maybe it is because we do a better job at it. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer, Sanjana. Next, if we can hear from May. So the first question for you, May, is, from your experience, what services or support do refugee girls need to have to move forward in a life full of dignity?
I would say, like, whatever you've gone through, like, you know, whatever had happened to you, just speak out your story and share it with people. Like, you don't have to care what people are going to talk, like, you know, something like like for me, I was like always wanted to tell my story, and then, like I'm afraid like people might judge me, and you know all the things. It take a while for me to like to be here, like talking to a bunch of people. Yeah, if I'm nervous and I care about what people are going to talk about me, like I will never like have my voice and no one know what I gone through. So I'm trying to say like speak out whatever you gone through, and like whatever you gone through is like, yeah, whatever happened to you is you have always a way to like like out of whatever you are, and there's people who are going to help you, and yeah, you don't have to like stay in one place that like whatever you are, you have always have way to like find out and you know like be whatever you are. Yeah, I would say like share out your voice, like speak out and share out your story. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, May.
Yeah.
All right, Jillian, first question for you is, how do we provide a safe space for the children to be brave and voice out their feelings and anxieties regarding their sexuality?
Basically, to provide a safe space is, of course, to embrace the person first. So, have the ability to be educated about who this person is, provide a safe conversation as well, wherein you are able to know, maybe the first one, if you have to educate yourself first. What is the LGBTQ plus community? What are their struggles? Who are these people? What are their identities? And through that, by educating yourself, is also understanding the struggles of people. And by these people, such as the LGBTQ plus, such as me, I would also have now the capacity and the trust for me to actually share to you. And by providing that system, it would really help students, kids, girls, even boys, to actually share who they are if they feel welcome in the environment that you have already established. So that's my answer.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And Merrylove, your first question. What are some ways that we can change the mindset of our societies and finally end cycles of child marriage and abuse and harmful mindsets against the girl child?
Through education, empathy, and I would like to emphasize on empathy though, because let's say that a member of yours is a supporter of child marriage. It is very important to not put a blame on them or discriminate them because of their thinking. Instead, we need to educate them, tell them why is it wrong and what are some things that we can do. And through that, again, family is the cell of our society. Everything starts from family. I really believe that we need to educate each other, not only the older generation educating the younger generation, but it goes both ways, because we are speaking about our future, all of us. And some other ways to educate our society is just through spreading awareness and words of love, and by portraying those qualities through your own action. And I believe it will ripple a lot of people, and they will take you as a role model and an example. That's all from me.
Thank you. Thanks to all our panelists for those wonderful answers. Winifred or Helen, if there's any of the questions from the first round that you want to jump into, feel free. If not, that's okay. Our girl and youth activists a lot.
They're doing well.
Winifred, I will pick up just on one point, and it was that May was asked questions about what services were needed. And I heard her say in her talk that she was in Rose Virginie shelter, and that she was provided with a counsellor, and that there was an accepting atmosphere around, and she was helped with learning and adapting to life. And I don't know, May, whether you want to say something in terms of your experience there, and also UNHCR. You mentioned about them and how they looked for your family and how they spoke with you and came back, etc. And then that they helped you to get to the United States. So I don't know whether you want to add anything, but I just want to highlight again what has been said, the inclusion, the respect, the listening, and providing services like the counseling that helps people.
Sure, yeah, I can talk about, yeah, before I arrived to Rose Virginia Good Shepherd Shelter, I have lived in like lots of shelter, and there's like a lot of kids go to school and I didn't go to school. I would like just sit in the shelter and like all the kids are in the school, I'm just in the house and do nothing, just sit in there. Yeah, but when I got to Rose Virginia Good Shepherd Shelter, they gave me counselor, and like they have like teacher that come to the shelter and teach us. So we have like homeschool and there's a lot of like dance teacher and drama teachers and come over like teach us. So yeah, I would say like also having a counselor is really good, like talk to someone. For me, I don't really like counselor, but when I got the Rose Virginia Good Shepherd Shelter, like and try to talk to people, even though like we don't know how to communicate with each other, like my Malay is not good the time and my English is not good, but somehow like they understand whatever I'm saying, and like it's helped me a lot to be like, you know, right now who I am is like because of the Rose Virginia Good Shepherd Shelter. They helped me a lot to be who I am, and now I am like, you know, I'm really thankful for the Rose Virginia Good Shepherd Shelter, for like, because I'm here and I'm right now, it's because of all of them. Like they show me love, they show me care, and they show me that not all the people are bad people, you know, like they show me that there's a lot of good people too, and I need to like let my, you know, for me, like trusting people are not easy, but they show me that like, May, like not everybody is bad. You have to like, you know, at least try to trust someone. So right now for me, I'm not trusting anybody, but I know who to trust too. So yeah, I would say it's because of Rose Virginia Good Shepherd Shelter. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
Thanks, May. All right, second round of questions. So for the second round, we're going to go to Jillian. So Jillian, the question for you is, how do we work within our communities to think differently about gender and ensure that sexual education is comprehensive?
It will always start in the ground level, going up to the system, to the government. So first, of course, you have to realize that everybody is equal, that everybody needs equal opportunities. And through educating yourselves through your families of actually, like what Santana said, you have to realize that the burden of doing housework and other jobs inside the home would start in terms of both boys and girls. So you should teach your kids, your daughters, your sons that they should do things equally. And once we go out of that system, you have your governments that could really push for the implementation of these sexual education and etc. So, and through that, because the thing is, some systems, some governments do not support this this need to actually see people equal. And if we both start from the ground, going up, and even up going down, that would make a big difference. Because again, in schools, in governments, and even at home, these are all the things happening are basically rooted in terms of historical injustices. So if we attack in terms of a multi-sectoral approach, so meaning we affect all people, all institutions, then sex education, LGBTQ plus voices, equal rights will be able to be upheld.
Wonderful, thank you. Now I'll go to Merrylove. And my second question for you is, what do girls who have survived violence and abuse need to live a life of dignity and to heal?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Of course. So the question is, what do girls who have survived violence and abuse need to live a life of dignity and to heal? So what sort of support do they need?
They will definitely need a lot of support from every people, and from their family, from their friends, and also from organizations who are willing to help them. The world is filled with both good and bad people. But when you seek out the right people, the right organization, you will see that they want to care for you. They want to love you. They want to support you. They want to be able to provide all the things that you did not get through challenges and issues. So what do they need is they need empathy, definitely empathy. They need understanding. They need all of this emotional support, but they also need other forms of support like education and financial, where they will actually also need I'm sorry, I'm having trouble articulating my thoughts. But it's very important that they know there are people out there who are voicing out for their rights. Because sometimes they might not even know that what they actually have rights. They don't know that they can do this, that people cannot do this to them. So what they need is that they need to be educated. We need to help them to understand that they are loved, and there are many great things awaiting for them in the future. Not only in the future, actually right now too.
Great, thank you. That was a great answer. All right, May, the next question is for you. Why is it important for all girls, including refugee girls, to have access and to be able to attain a quality education?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Of course. So why is it important? And maybe think about it, why it has been good for you and important to you that all girls, including refugee girls, have access to education.
I don't know how to answer the questions, but I would say like education important to like refugee girls or like people like me, because you know when you have education or you have a knowledge, like I don't know how to say it, but I think like I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it.
That's okay. Winifred or Helen, would you like to add to that question?
Yeah, I think, you know, today May is the example for us.
Mm-hmm.
She can speak, she has confidence, and education, of course, the education is not everything in terms of the education makes her subjugated, but her education is helping her voice. And you know, we have Malala of your own age, all of you, who says, you know, on education, one child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. So education does wonderful things. It helps us to question our own beliefs, which we thought, okay, they were okay, we have to be this way, we have to be very subservient. They help us question, they help us regain our confidence. They also help us reclaim our identity, dignity, and also speak for others, as some of you have brought it very clearly in this session. Like Sanjana, she said she goes out. You are advocates. Advocacy comes from being educated, and all of us get educated, not only girls, even we. If we don't read, if we don't try to understand what is happening, we are not at all relevant anymore. So I think education helps all of us. It is imperative not only for you girls, you are also educating us. We mutually educate each other. It is a lifelong process that helps us build our confidence to take the world and take ourselves.
Thank you. There was a great quote on Friday at the Girls' Rights Town Hall from one of the ambassadors that said, "You have more to teach us," speaking to the girl activists, "than we have to teach you." And I feel very much that way listening to all of you speaking tonight. So the last question is for Sanjana. Who or what nurtured your courage to see the world for girls differently and to begin to question what it means to be a girl?
Thank you for that question. And to start off, I would like to say my family, of course. And by my family, I mean the entire Good Shepherd family, my school, my teachers, and every person who has taught me that, you know what, you have an opportunity. You have a life that you got to live, not just for you, but also for others. And when I say that they nurtured me to know that girls don't receive their rights, it's also helped me become who I am. So they have nurtured me not just to reach out, but also to reach within, like Sister Winifred aptly repeated what I said. So I would owe it all to the people who brought me up. And so I request every parent who's watching this to ensure that they tell their children that their lives are not just meant to be lived for themselves, but also for others. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That was a great answer. I believe we are out of time for questions, but I just want to say thank you to all of you for giving such wonderful answers and for sharing such wonderful presentations. So thank you. A lot to learn from all of you today.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Alexis, for moderating this part of the session. Thank you, Helen, for your wisdom, your expertise, and your insight. And above all, you're saying that we with the grey hair have to learn from the girls, and indeed we do. To my panelists, you were super. I wish I could go through and read all of the notes that have come in chat, supporting you, wishing you well, commenting on your courage, on your speaking out, on your ability to engage the conversation, and above all, in terms of your commitment to make a change for not just yourselves, but for every girl in the world. So to all of you, I say thank you very much. It has been my privilege to be with you. And with this, I will hand back to wherever we're going to go next for the ending of the program. Again, thank you very much to everybody. Bye-bye from us on the panel. And thank you to all the panelists.